How's it going, guys? So here's my footage from this week. It was definitely an up and down week for me. The beginning of the week wasn't so good, but I finished the week pretty damn strong. So here is some footage from Monday. I typically don't train on Mondays, but we didn't have school this day because Emporia, Kansas is the Founders of Veterans Day. So we trained Monday night here. Just went for a relatively small PR of 5 pounds. And I hit it. I hit 370, sorry, for 5 here, which is a 5 pound, which is a 5 rep PR for me. And it was a little grindy, but I was pretty geeked up. If you would have been there, I was pretty damn excited about that. And probably against my better judgment, I went for it again. So I went for 370 for at least 4 by. So after that pretty heavy triple there, didn't like my form that much either. I backed it off a little bit to 350, and I just followed off the rest of this workout with some bench press, but I didn't like because their benches were different than I was accustomed to, and I just did like some cardio-ish squats where I was doing like, I think I did a 5x5 with like a 60 or 90 second rest at like 245, just to like get some more hypertrophy work in there. Which probably wasn't a good idea because my left knee was not feeling very good this day, which I'll kind of get to that later. But if you've watched my video talking about how I'm switching to the cube method, you know that one of the reasons I'm doing that is because I've been a little bit banged up with my knees lately. And hopefully just kind of decreasing in frequency and loading overall can allow me to keep training and making progress, even though maybe a little bit slower than I would like. I'd much rather be healthy than to make just huge strain gains right now. So this was Tuesday, really similar to Monday where I just wasn't feeling great. I guess Monday I felt fine. I just had some pain. But probably against my better judgment here, which we all kind of do this from time to time if we're honest with ourselves, I went for a 430 for a triple, which is a 5 pound PR for me. And these definitely didn't look good. Thoracic was very, very rounded, which I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, I pretty much deloaded the rest of that workout. Did some lighter hip thrusts, some lighter barbell rows, and just kind of called it a day. I'm getting better at learning that some days you just don't have it. And this was a kind of hip mobility drill I wanted to make you guys aware of. I definitely don't do this every day before I squat or something. But when I really do have tight hips, or if my clients have tight hips, this is definitely a go-to little mobility drill you can do, 15, 30 seconds before you train. It can make quite a bit of difference and in a short period of time. Shout out to Ben Rice. I saw him do that on a mobility video he put out like a couple of years ago, actually. So this was Thursday. This was my typical high rep squat day and also overhead press and some forward press stuff. This has been a pretty fun day for me. I can kind of take this less seriously and stuff, but this was we got a few sets here. Pretty much just hit 335 for I think 3 sets of 6 and 1 set of 7. I had really bad pain in my left knee this day. It was definitely throwing me off. I wasn't confident in my lift. People kind of know how that goes when you just have not pain like your muscles hurting, like pain like it's your joint or your tendon, and you just kind of feel like stopping for being safe. But a big adjustment, actually kind of a subtle adjustment that I made that made a pretty big difference was just turning my feet out a little bit. Again, if you look at my feet here, it's kind of why I got a different angle. I definitely don't have a huge foot flare. It's probably only like 10, maybe 20-ish degrees. But it really took a lot of the pressure off of my knee. I'm not sure if it did that because it allowed my knees to track a little bit outside of my toes as opposed to in front of my toes, if that makes sense. So my knees are traveling further outwards than forwards, and I think that probably took a lot of the tension off my knee. I did the same thing today when I maxed out, and I almost felt nothing. So that was definitely a good part of that training session, even though I didn't figure that out till my fourth and final set. And this was a pretty good day. I can't complain about this day much. I actually didn't go in with the intent of pulling a single. I just kind of got pulled into pulling a single, if that makes sense. So here's just kind of some warm-up sets. This was a pretty easy 315 for a double and 365 for a single. One of the reasons, outside of just maybe not being strong enough yet, that I don't think I pulled this 435 for more than a single, I'm just really thinking because maybe my warm-up set of 365 was a little too heavy. So that's something I'll kind of have to be more conscious of in the past. Looking at the lift, outside of my little hitch I had at the end, I was really pleased with it because I stayed pretty upright, and I didn't round so much. I definitely didn't have the speed that I typically have off the ground, but overall I'm really happy with that. That's a 5-pound PR for me, and pulling 435 is probably a little bit more than I was anticipating it at this time of the year. So I'm not complaining my strength gains at all. And then just for some back off work, I wanted to kind of just get a little bit of experience of some of the variations that I'll see with the cube coming up in the next probably at least 9 weeks. I'm going to try to give it a full run. So it calls for block pulls, 2 sets of 1 to 3 at 85%. So this was 365 for me. I don't have too much trouble with the lockout, to be honest with you guys, if I can get it above my knee. I actually haven't missed a conventional deadlift yet in my training. But if I can get above my knee, it's usually pretty good. But I do like the variation of block pulls and these deficits here. These deficits were brutal. It definitely makes it feel the deadlift like such a long lift, and of course it is a longer lift than a deficit. But I definitely think these will be really beneficial for me, probably a lot more so than block pulls, because it will teach me to shove my hips down. I definitely prefer pulling with a little bit higher hips and even a slight round in my upper back, but definitely dropping my hips a little bit will probably be advantageous for my health and my strength as well. One thing I'll have to figure out there is maybe something else to pull on top of, because my feet were a little bit closer than I'd like them to be, and it kind of shoved my knees in. So maybe if you guys can give me some ideas of, if you do deficit deadlifts, what you use for to make your deficit with, if that makes sense. And this was a really good day. This was an awesome day for me. Maxed out on squats here. I really dedicated the past few days to just being 100% on point with my recovery. Made sure I got plenty of sleep. Made sure I got plenty of whole food nutrition. I wasn't missing anything that was going to kind of set me apart from not hitting this 405 today. Originally, I was going to plan on maxing out probably like Tuesday, Thursday of next week. But I figured, you know, if I'm capable of doing this on Sunday, just hit it. And that's what I did. This was a 405 for a single here. I was super pleased with this. Mental focus was awesome. I had a lot of speed out of the hole. My walkout was good. My torso was upright. Held my breath. There's really nothing I can say about this 405 that I didn't really enjoy. I was controlled on the way down, but I wasn't so slow that I was timid and didn't have any kind of pop out of the hole. Can't really say the same thing about this 415. I'm definitely excited that I hit it, but it definitely wasn't the best form that I possibly could have had. And who knows, I may have 5 or 10 more pounds in me if I would have been as efficient as I was with that 405. But the main thing here is I just didn't have my walkout, and it caused my right hip. It's pretty damn noticeable. My right hip to actually externally rotate more than my left hip, because my foot was a little bit more flared. But again, cannot complain about hitting a PR regardless of how shitty the form was. And just to wrap some stuff up, I finished my week getting pinned by 270. So bench press, not going so well as deadlifts or squats. But yeah, hopefully you guys check in next week when I start the cube. Thank you guys for the support as always. Give it a thumbs up if you liked the video. I'll see you guys next week.